This is Joe Biden. In April 2022, Biden made a very important announcement regarding student loan payments.
Today I'm announcing my administration is extending the pause on federal student loan repayments through August 31st of 2022. I know folks were hit hard by this pandemic, and though we've come a long way in the last year, we're still recovering from the economic crisis it caused.
Which is weird because we've been told that we're in the middle of the Biden boom and that our economic recovery has been glorious and that more jobs have been created during Biden's first 15 months in office, more than any other president during their first 15 months. So either it's great or it's not. You can't have it both ways.
This continued pause will help Americans breathe a little easier as we recover and rebuild from the pandemic.
Breathe a little easier. This is the 6th time that the pause has been extended. And by the time that August 31st rolls around, it will have been nearly 2.5 years since any of these borrowers have been required to make any kind of payment. And I'm going to make a quick prediction. The pause is going to be extended a 7th time through the midterm elections, because you know why. Anyway, you might be thinking that a 2.5-year pause would be plenty of time, and you'd be right. But according to the Democrats, too much is never enough. During the 2020 campaign, when the pandemic was still raging, Biden wanted to forgive a minimum of $10,000 per person of federal student loans, as proposed by Senator Warren and colleagues. Notice that it didn't say that Biden would do this through executive action. He's basically just saying that he would sign it if it ever got through Congress. Young people and other student loan holders bore the brunt of the last crisis. It shouldn't happen again. So even though college graduates end up making hundreds of thousands, if not millions more in their lifetime than, say, non-college grads, they're victims, and it would be completely unfair to make them pay back all of their student loans. Come on, man. And according to the Brookings Institute, if $10,000 per student loan borrower were eliminated, it would cost the American taxpayer an estimated $373 billion. But for senators like Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren, $10,000 of loan forgiveness doesn't cut it.
Pausing student loans isn't good enough. We need student debt erased, plain and simple.
Canceling $50,000 of student loan debt would give 36 million Americans permanent total relief. That would be the end of their debt burden.
And sure, the debt burden of individual borrowers would end, but a debt burden of at least $1 trillion would then be passed on to the American taxpayer, the majority of whom didn't go to college. So why should people who didn't go to college, or the people who paid off their student loans in full, take on the responsibility of millions of Americans that didn't have to?
So many people say, well, if I'm not a borrower, I shouldn't care. If you live in the American economy, then you should care about student loan debt, because that debt holds back our economy. And it means more borrowers will put off starting businesses, put off buying homes, put off starting families. That affects all of us.
So let me get this straight. Warren is suggesting that people who can't manage to pay a couple $100s a month on a student loan would totally have the wherewithal to be able to start and run successful businesses. Right. And furthermore, how are these people who supposedly can't afford a few $100s a month in student loan payments going to manage thousands of dollars in mortgage payments? Oh wait, are we gonna bail them out too?
And it takes away your ability to do so many other things that you want to do, whether it's enjoying life, like going out to a restaurant or going on vacation.
Guys, we have to cancel student debt so that these poor victims can finally enjoy life and fly to Aruba.
Or the greater necessities of life, like buying an appliance or buying a car or moving or changing jobs or so many other things that are just so important.
He's speaking about student loan borrowers like they're the only people in the United States that have problems with money, which is just ridiculous. And with that, you won't be surprised that this is the main talking point that Democrats are going with.
We cannot burden a whole generation and prevent them from enjoying raising children, having a home of their own, building assets.
It cripples people from buying a house. It cripples them from starting a family. It has a disproportionate impact on women.
And this is holding people back from buying homes, from saving for retirement, or oftentimes just making ends meet at the end of the month.
Student debt is a huge burden that buries people in financial worry and limits their choices. It stops them from building the life that they want, like buying a house or getting married, starting a business, or saving up for retirement.
Getting married, having children, buying a home.
A generation of young people who have been forced to hold off on starting a business, purchasing a home.
It's about making it easier for you to pursue your dreams, buy a house, open a small business, or even start a family.
They'd be able to buy houses, begin families, and invest in their communities by starting businesses without worrying about how they're going to make ends meet.
So what they're saying is that if you cancel student debt, these people will never have to worry about money again, and they'll live in houses, and their new businesses will thrive, and their lives will be perfect. Got it. So how would the Democrats pull off canceling at least $1 trillion in student debt? Well, not through Congress, that's for sure, because Democrats don't have the 50 votes needed to do it. But that's okay, because the Democrats have a plan B.
People still don't know this. This does not require legislation. We've all read about all the difficulties of getting bills done, particularly in the Senate with so many intransigent Republicans. That is not true of student debt. The president can do it with the flick of a pen.
Now, the president has the authority to do it. As Leader Schumer said, he can do it today with the stroke of a pen.
So since Democrats can't get it done in Congress, they're going to try and shift the blame onto Biden by saying that he has the authority to do it through executive order.
President Biden has the authority to issue an executive order that will cancel $50,000 of student loan debt for every borrower.
The president doesn't need Joe Manchin or Kristen Sinema's permission to do it.
With the stroke of a pen, President Biden can help make education a pathway to mobility, not a burden.
And Democrats are so desperate to get it done that some of them, like Congressman Andy Levin, will just straight up lie about it.
President Biden must make good on his promise and take executive action to cancel $50,000 in student debt for every single affected American.
Except again, that's a lie, because Joe Biden never promised to cancel that much student debt. In fact, he was surprisingly clear when he was asked about it during a CNN town hall back in February 2021.
We need student loan forgiveness beyond the potential $10,000 your administration has proposed. We need at least a $50,000 minimum. What will you do to make that happen?
I will not make that happen.
And even though that sounds pretty definitive, that was then and this is now. And with Biden's polling numbers in the tank, Democrats are convinced they can change his mind. Well, at least what's left of it.
We know that the president has the authority to cancel student loan debt, and the best way we know that is because President Obama did it, President Trump did it, and President Biden has now done it repeatedly. The power is clearly
extending
there, and the need.
Deadlines, you mean there?
No, they have canceled. Remember, they have canceled debt. They've both canceled it for people in certain categories entirely, but they have also canceled the interest that is due on people's student loans.
This is all very misleading. Debt that was canceled while Biden has been in office was not through executive order. It was done through the Department of Education, who discharged $5.8 billion in loans for borrowers with total and permanent disabilities, and another $1.1 billion for people who were scammed by ITT Technical Institute. In other words, there were specific and legitimate reasons for the Department of Education to discharge that debt. Not to mention that there's a huge difference between canceling tens of billions in debt and canceling over $1 trillion worth.
The concern is at this moment, it could also be inflationary in an environment where there already is high inflation.
No, it is not inflationary. Not paying student loans has been baked in for 3 years now.
3 years? It's barely been 2. And more importantly, saying that this wouldn't be inflationary, it just goes against all logic. I mean, fine, we're dealing with Elizabeth Warren, so it shouldn't be surprising.
Two Obama-era economists, Senator Warren, Jason Furman and Larry Summers, have warned against the president's extension of the student loan moratoriums during this time of inflation, saying, quote, it's regressive and adding fuel to the fire of inflation. They say that'll add to inflation, Senator.
No, actually, not paying student loan debts has already been baked in.
I think Senator Warren is baked in. And remember, these are the same people who claimed all through 2021 that inflation was transitory. I mean, sure, they were wrong, but you can totally trust them this time, guys.
Millions of people need their student loan debt canceled. Mr. President, today would be a great day to cancel $50,000 in student loan debt for tens of millions of people across this country.
No. No, it wouldn't. Because the reality is that canceling student debt for millions of Americans would just give them an advantage in life over people who paid their student debt in full, and an even bigger advantage over those Americans who didn't choose college at all. So much for that equity that Democrats love to preach about, huh? Anyway, that's it for now. Be sure to hit that like button, check out these videos that you definitely missed, and be sure that you're still subscribed to the channel. As always, I hope to see you next time. If there is next time.